Hey guys, welcome to another episode of East Coast Rams podcast. I am your co-host Ashton here with my awesome co-host Zach, and it is wildcard weekend. We are still in the middle of it, but your Los Angeles Rams have won their first playoff win in the 2025 season, defeating the Carolina Panthers at home 34-31 in a nail-biting thriller. Another one that was a, let's say, wild ride of emotions. Wild card living up to it. The Green Bay Bears game apparently is pretty crazy too. But if you guys are tuning in, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe and comment down below what was your favorite moment from the game. Please tell us that. And if you're watching us live, feel free to give us your thoughts on a lot of things that went on this game. There are so many things to break down with this. But first off, Zach, how are you feeling? I know a lot of heart doctors, especially in the LA area, are going to probably get a good amount of business in the next few weeks.
Oh, 100%. I mean, here, I'll throw this one up right now. Rams are going to give us a heart attack. I think I posted online as like, man, I'm going to have a heart attack because of this team before I turn 40. So, yeah, this team, I love them. Wouldn't want to be a part of any other team, organization, things like that. But man, oh man, as being 10-point favorites in this game, they really like to keep things super close and keep us all in panic mode pretty much until there's, 17 seconds left. And even then, we still don't know if there's going to be a phantom PI or something like that gets called on them. So other than that, I think the Rams played admirably well. There are obviously some pain points, which I think that we will discuss in full detail coming up. But proud of this team, proud of how they handled themselves. They didn't have the greatest third quarter in the world, but they came out to find a win. So wouldn't want anybody other than Matthew Stafford leading this team. Overall, good, positive win. Moving on to the divisional round. Let's get it done. What are your initial thoughts of the game?
Like the end of half was brutal, Zach, for this team. The last 45 seconds of the first half. I'll first off say this team seems like they have to play from being in a corner. And that has really bitten us in most of these one-score games. To be honest, guys, this is a team that has to learn to be able to execute when we are given opportunities. Now, let's give the Panthers team some credit. Their defense was playing fantastic at different points. Their offense was playing fantastic at different points. They are a very weird team, especially at home. And we saw that this game. Now, don't make any mistakes. We should have been blowing out this team by halftime. It should have been probably 28-7, with all things considered. Puka Nacua having a drop touchdown was a momentum killer. Just the complete lack of execution on third down on both sides of the ball. We were letting them convert a lot, and we were also just completely unable, I feel like, to execute some of our plays. And I know people are going to say Stafford, his finger got a little banged up, but I think it was more than that. Like the drop Puka touchdown, he had already gotten hurt. I think the Panthers were adjusting their pressure, and Evero is a really good defensive coordinator. And this Panthers team has a really good secondary. So the way they were able to layer different coverages, the pressure was kind of getting to Stafford, and that is something we have to acknowledge. And the fact that Dedich wasn't playing the best either, for the most part, he was okay in this game, but it could have been a lot worse because he was giving up some pressures, and Stafford was affecting him.
Yeah, I want to say, for the first quarter and a half, I think the Rams were playing pretty much on all cylinders. I mean, you had the first play where the defense stops them going on fourth down. Remember, this Carolina team, even though they were the 4th seed, they were coming in with a losing record, 8-9. Kind of the bottom barrel of this Cardinals team, or for the Cardinals team, this Carolina team, and they had nothing to lose. I mean, they were going to do whatever they could. You saw that in their first drive. They went on for it. Lake made it a great play. I mean, really, in that
fantastic.
We saw why we missed Lake so much. He was there. He was everywhere, and it was great to see him back in play. And then the Rams came down and they took care of business, and they went down and scored a touchdown. Then the defense came in and did another. Stood again. 5. They had 5 plays. They had to punt the ball again. The next time Carolina had the ball, what did we did? We got an interception by, a tip by Q. And then, I call it the Q tip, pretty happy about that one. And then, what do the Rams do with that? They score another touchdown. So, really for the first quarter and a half, the Rams were playing pretty good football. It just seemed after that, when Carolina got their momentum a little bit after that first touchdown, things started to kind of degrade from there.
That fourth and short was really a big turning point in the game. Up 17-7 on their side of the field. What, 4th and 2nd?
Yeah,
you got to convert there or kick the field goal.
Yeah, and I don't know why they didn't kick the field goal, or I don't know why Stafford didn't even try to run the ball out. It felt like
people say. So I disagree with that, Zach. People who say he would have got that. Stafford is not that. We have all seen him run 2 or 3 yards. He is not that quick, and that linebacker was closer than people think. It would have been very close. I don't think it's a surefire thing like people say. And is that worth giving your potential MVP QB knocked out of the game?
Well, I mean, that's Stafford. Stafford's call to do that. I mean, that wasn't Sean McVay saying he needed to run the ball. He had 2 options. Oh, yeah. He could either try to run for it or throw the ball. So he ended up throwing the ball, which is fine. Again, it's one thing that happened. I would have gone for the points. Where were they at? They were at the...
They were like the 15-yard. Oh, yeah, 19. So, the other interesting thing about that, Zach, is you can tell this team doesn't really practice scramble drills, because Stafford isn't really a scrambler. So, in normal scramble drill, you're supposed to have, your tight end in that area try to go upfield or cut back down if he has, depending on where the coverage is. So if you have coverage behind you, you cut back down, go towards the quarterback, and vice versa. He had coverage underneath. If Higbee just goes up in a normal scramble drill, that's a potential touchdown, wide open. There's no one behind him. If you watch that back, that's just one of those things I can kind of excuse from this team because they're not practicing that ever.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think, again, going into it just kind of felt that the Rams downhill started to go from there. Then the Panthers come back. Is that when we get the kind of when did we get that phantom PI call?
I believe that was I think that was their first drive that they got a touchdown. It was every touchdown drive, their first 3 touchdown drives, they had 3 penalties that assisted them on converting a 3rd down. It was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, so we had the first one they had a defensive pass interference call. The second one they had the PI call on Lake for defensive pass interference. Yeah, a lot of things that helped them get there.
They had that unnecessary roughness on, was that Landman? I believe it was Landman.
It was Landman.
That was a little ridiculous. You also had the fact that the targeting or the unnecessary roughness, I think it turned out, on Nick Scott, they tried to pick that up, which is also crazy. It felt like
they were going to, yeah. But obviously there was evidence that they couldn't do that.
I don't know. I thought the reffing has been atrocious against the Rams, especially on those opinion style of calls. Now, that isn't to say the Rams didn't have their opportunities and kind of, I think we said it before this game. You have to take it out of the ref's hands. You got to make sure it's not a close game. So we're not like all watching for bated breath if they somehow get a phantom PI call again. And then you see a few plays like Davante Adams getting clearly held 3 times as like worse than whatever they called on cue, and it's they're just not going to do us any favors. We're going to have to play perfect ball and have good execution.
And it wasn't just those calls. I mean, obviously the teardown of Davante Adams that got no called, that was bad. I'm not going to blame the refs for everything. Like I said, I think there might have been really 2 or 3 like bad calls in my opinion. But there's some things that they need to clean up
on big downs though.
I mean, she had a hold that kind of, really set us back.
That was a legitimate call. The call Dedich for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said there are things that they have to clean up, and there, like I said, I think that there's only about 3 bad calls, either no calls or bad calls. Other than that, it's the Rams. They need to clean that stuff up from a team that is literally the least penalized team in the league for several years now. This shouldn't be something that we should be seeing in the playoff game.
But like, I think my kind of argument with that whole logic kind of is, Zach, like they would have called around 7 to 9 penalties on the Panthers if they were being as, let's say, diligent as they were with that. That's where it kind of fell.
I'm over this whole the refs are out to get the Rams. The Rams had a terrible. They did not have a good functioning team. I mean, as far as the penalties,
I don't disagree with that.
But I want to stop blaming the refs for everything. Yes, they had a few bad calls. We can call those out as it is. But otherwise, we can't keep saying like the refs are against the Rams. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
You look at the statistics before the Puka comments, the amount of automatic first downs we have gotten against defenses has dropped sharply.
I think Puka has apologized to them during every single game. I think that we need to stop talking about it because it just keeps, anytime any ref does anything wrong or they didn't call something or they didn't see something. I mean, clearly they could have let the Puka or the Davante Adams hit go, but clearly the ref saw it in the back end when the person who's standing right there said incomplete pass, didn't call it. So again, it's going to come how the refs see it, but I'm now kind of over this whole let's blame the refs because we think they're out to get us because Puka said something stupid weeks ago. He was fined. I bet you he has gone to every ref during every game and said, I apologize for what I said. Let's move on.
It's just the reality of the situation. I don't think it's a excuse for the Rams to lose a game. The reason they were in a close game, again, wasn't because the refs. It was because of lack of execution on third down, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were atrocious.
That's why.
Third down. In the third quarter alone, I mean, Stafford was firing on all cylinders. Like I said, in that first, quarter and a half when he was 8 for 8, 4 or 5 of those passes were going to Puka Nacua. We had 2 touchdowns by Puka. Like things were just going amazingly on defensive side. We were taking the ball away. We were stopping them, things like that. What was it? Let's see. So I was seeing for the third down efficiency, Rams were 3 and 13 on third down. That's bad. Carolina, they started off really well in the third down territory. They ended up only being 5 for 12 by the end of the game.
Well, the last few drives really kind of skew that stat for the Rams' favor. Do we want to talk about the overall offense first or the defense? How are you feeling?
Let's talk about the offense. I'll go over some of the stats, and then we can kind of dive into those a little bit. Matthew Stafford, he was 24 for 42, 304 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception, was sacked once. Overall, I'll let you start off that. How do you think about the overall protection of Stafford?
I would say everyone played their minds out in the pass protection side besides Dedich. He was bearable. In the run, I just think Derek Brown is such a monster in the middle of the field for the Carolina defense. It was really tough, and it wasn't until like later in the game when we started mixing in 13 personnel we were able to get chunk yardage. So it was definitely a game where you have to have the pass kind of set up the run. And the problem with that is by the time that we started going through our slump, Stafford hit his finger. We couldn't throw anymore. We hadn't really gone running yet. We didn't see that until the fourth quarter when we started picking up again and Stafford went in the soul snatching mode. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Stafford had a few no lookers. The tight ends came alive in the fourth quarter. Puka, I mean, we say it every week. Insane catches, and the fact that he didn't catch that TD and people are making fun of him, I think it's so silly and stupid. He isn't perfect. He's going to make mistakes. The fact he was so wide open when everyone knows he's the primary focus should tell you how good he is.
yeah. And that other one, Stafford just read the route wrong. He cut towards
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
sideline instead of to the, and he made an unbelievable breakup there. I mean, maybe he should play
Oh yeah.
DB, when he's not, in his wide receiver role. Um, so yeah, I think Stafford's finger, I think it was overblown. I was kind of over Greg Olson continuing to bring that up as a factor. He seemed like he was throwing fine. Now I think he was, on his interception, I think he was throwing short. He threw short. And then because him and Devontae just were off this game, whether he felt like he was throwing over Devontae, and then all of a sudden he started throwing short, and that's what got us the interception. I think it was just more of a miscue than an actual injury problem. I mean, Stafford had a big slump. I mean, he was going in that third quarter, he had like 2 completions out of like 15. I mean,
I think the announcer said
it
that
was
he
ugly.
had his longest incompletion streak in his time with the Rams.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, like, do you think that's a aspect of how the defense kind of adjusted, especially at the end of the second quarter into the third, and just getting different pressure packages against Stafford that
I think so. I think
apparently
they were
we weren't
mixed.
blocking up well?
Yeah, I think we were just yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you do go
That's
into
what I
that
was
third
saying.
yeah, when you go into that 13 personnel package, you're using a lot of your tight ends, obviously as receivers, but also as blockers, chip blockers, and things like that. So then you're only focused on, like, when you do a pass play, you really only have a couple of potential targets, and that just allows you to kind of play
Well,
those targets a little differently.
when we were going cold, we really had a low percentage in 13 personnel. It was primarily like a lot of 11 personnel,
Yeah.
maybe some 12 personnel. I wasn't getting or I probably didn't catch it, but you didn't really notice 13 personnel until the third, like fourth quarter, late third. And that's when we were already starting to get back in rhythm a little bit throwing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, our 11 personnel just doesn't feel like it used to. When you had Puka and even when you had, like, when you get Cooper Cup on the team, it was just a different dynamic. I felt like the blockers were there. The wide receivers are more blockers than they are now, as far as the wide receivers go. And I think that's why we would more try to go to the 13 personnel when we can, which also could
Well,
caveat with
uh,
all that.
I would point out the depth of the team was way more like blocking friendly with the wide receivers 11 personnel wise, and that was the focus in drafting. Now you have like players like Tutu and X, and not saying they're bad blockers, they're not, they're good for their size, but they're limited because of their size, if that makes sense. Like, they're not going to be able to like hold defensive ends very long compared to the different style of players we had wide receiver wise when we were primary 11.
Yeah, I mean, when we had Skoranek, Van Jefferson, things like those were a little
Jacob
bit
Harris, like,
bigger. Yeah, they were a little
yes,
bit bigger of wide receivers.
they're
Uh,
closer to tight ends, and now we're getting tight ends that are closer to wide receivers, right?
right, right. Outside of Puka, who feels like he's also, like a tight end.
He's a
Crazy guy
tight
he is.
end, a wide receiver, running back, because we were rushing the ball with him a lot in this game too. A DB, he can do a little bit of everything. Zach,
Yeah, 100%. And then what in the last quarter, I think Stafford was 12 for 15 in the fourth quarter alone. 12 for 15, 143 passing yards, two tight ends.
ice in the
His passer
veins.
rating was 146. He basically, I don't know if you saw the post game stuff, but he basically told the offense before that last drive that, okay, let's go rip some hearts out. So again,
And
Stafford is the only quarterback that I would want to be in a deficit to, take you to that final second win.
and that is something, Zach, that we have gotten accustomed to with Stafford for the most in big games or in the playoffs, just being able to soul snatch and be clutch. And that's something, and that's why this year has been especially heartbreaking because of how good the team is, our expectations, and the fact that in these close games, they have had chances to do this and they haven't.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to the running back room real quick. This is probably a shorter conversation, but Kyron Williams, he had 13 carries for 57 yards, averaging about 4.4 yards per carry. Blake Corum, 11 carries, 45 yards, 4.1 yards for carry. Puka had 3 carries for 14 yards. So they finally started doing a couple more jet sweeps than they normally do. I feel like the Rams, Sean McVay has gone away from doing jet sweeps. You might see one per game. I kind of would like him to see a little bit more, but we'll save that for a different day. What is your kind of overall thoughts about the running back room for this week?
I would say they were doing their jobs and being efficient, especially against a Carolina front that doesn't get enough credit. I think they have some really good, like Bobby Brown. We know he's not a bad player. He's good. He's not great at run stopping, but he's good enough. And then, like I said, Derek, he's a fantastic. I believe he's a DN, but he might be defensive tackle. But that front is solid, and for most part, our run blocking wasn't the best. So when we got back in 13 personnel and we were passing and we were starting to get more of a rhythm, that's when you started seeing the run game come a little bit alive and some good runs by both running backs. And then, yeah, I wish we would implement a little bit more like sweeps, jet sweeps, fly sweeps, a little bit. I wish we could do tosses, but I feel like the team is traumatized after that fumble from the toss. So I'll be interested to see the play calling next week. But yeah, overall, decent day, nothing spectacular, but they did it enough to win.
Yeah, the only thing that will say is I think they did kind of start not utilizing the run, especially in that third quarter. Again, I know when you get 3 and out, you limit yourself, but I want to try to see Stafford not always make it his show. I think we need to utilize our running backs and stuff like that. There's people out there who's like, well, they only look like they get 2 to 3 yards, where they're averaging again over 4 yards a carry, which is really good for this league. Typically, they're in the upper 4s, 4.8, stuff like that. So I think Sean McVay got a little bit away from the run game in that second half, but Kyron Williams, he also had 2 receptions plus that TD reception. So he had a pretty good game overall if you include both his running and attacking game. Wide receiver room, Puka Nacua did Puka Nacua things. 10 receptions, 111 yards, 2 TD. He got 2 TDs, didn't he? Or did he only get 1? He only got 1 TD.
Puka? He got 2.
He did
He
get
got
2.
2.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
ESPN is
He
failing
had
him
a
tonight.
screen. He had a screen touchdown.
Oh,
And
screen. That was
then
technically it was considered a rushing touchdown. That's what my notes are
okay.
misreading. So, yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, because that's not backwards at all. Or
yeah,
that must have been a backwards pass.
backward pass. Yep.
Also,
So Puka
can
Nakua. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry to throw you off a little bit. I did want to point out, and I noticed this on a deflection that the defense had. I believe it was almost a pick, but we did not pick up on a broken up screen pass. Our player did not pick up the football right next to him. And after that Seahawks game, you would think they would have had it coached into him. Any ball that you think is remotely horizontal, you pick that ball up first. I don't understand, Zach, why that is not drilled into their minds after that.
Yeah, I would think that would be, but when adrenaline's running, you guess you forget some of those things.
Yeah.
So, but Puka was great the first half. He was obviously great in the kind of final plays as well. Really good for him. Devonta Adams, he was targeted 13 times, but only had 5 receptions, 72 yards. He had the really the one that secured, I think, kind of the initial win from the touchdown prior was his catch in the middle.
Oh yeah.
He did a great job there. Actually, I think that only led to a field goal, but
he was kind of getting held consistently throughout the game. He was a good amount. And their top DB goes out, and that's who was primarily. It's always interesting because we've seen this from a lot of teams. They put their top DB on Devontae, and it is fascinating why defensive coordinators have done this throughout, right? I don't know why, especially in the middle of the field, because Stafford and Devontae haven't been the best, over the middle. So it is just interesting. And when he goes out, that's when you started Devontae be able to catch a little bit more and get a little bit more open. So that was fortunate for the Rams that their top DB kind of had to go out, and he didn't come back in for the rest of the fourth quarter. Probably costed the Panthers the game, to be honest.
Oh, most definitely, I think. Higbee, or the tight end room, had a really good day. Higbee had 2 receptions, 45 yards. And then Colby Parkinson, 2 receptions, 34 yards, and the pretty much game-sealing touchdown with, leaving only 34 seconds left on the clock was beautiful. I mean, the number of times that he's done this year is at least 3 or 4 that he's caught the ball and done kind of a fly-in to the end zone. He has gotten so much better.
That catch, though,
it was beautiful.
And I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but me and you, I think we have to eat crow. We have to be honest. And I feel like we both were really fed up with Parkinson after that first year, the amount of money. And, he has played good to great this year. Can't really do much better, especially after the first 4 games, than what he has done, especially in this rotation of tight ends. And it's awesome to see his growth in this offense, and I'm happy he proved us wrong. We were both dead wrong about him. We were even saying he should probably get cut, and, that is something that me and you were just flat out wrong about.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely struggled in his first year and even part of his second year here. But he's come into his own. I mean, he's been very stable. He's been helpful in the run game. He's been helpful in the pass game, pass protection, and everything. He's been asked to do a lot, especially with some of the injuries when Higbee goes out and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's really taken on that leadership role when Higbee's gone out, and that's been giving him a lot of opportunities, and he's been excelling at those opportunities, especially this season. I mean, didn't he just get did he pass the tight end franchise tight end TD record this year? He's pulling out all stops, and this, I wish we had Ferguson this game. I think we would have done a lot more 13 personnel if we had him, Higbee, and
Oh, yeah.
Parkinson. I said it on the last pod. I think those three out there are going to be a nightmare for defenses. And I can't wait to actually finally see that, hopefully here in the next game.
Yeah. And if you guys are watching live, please go ahead and comment or tell us in the chat what was your favorite offensive play from our wild card win. There's a lot of good ones to pick. Either Puka's touchdowns was pretty impressive. Kyron had a really good receiving touchdown, and Parkinson's game sealer. Please tell us in the chat. Zach, real quick, kind of NFL update while we're here. It is halftime on the Saturday night game. Packers up 21-3. Bears have been going apparently for it on fourth a lot. We do have a Bears fan in here. Thank you for watching. I am sorry that you guys are laying a stinker so far, but the Rams have seen, Zach, that lead is not secure. You got to finish out a game and play all 30 minutes. But you ready to talk some defense?
Yeah. Just real quick while we're talking about it, if the Packers do win, they would go to Seattle, and then we would either have to face the 49ers or the Eagles. whoever wins that game. And different complications with the Bears. Yeah.
If it's the 49ers, it would be at home. So
correct. So
or we're traveling to Philly in the divisional again.
Well, the Rams will be ready for that one. But we'll preview that here when that time comes. But let's talk about the defense a little bit. The defense, like I said, I think it had some ups and downs. Realistically, I think it had more ups than it did downs. It just, it felt like, especially in the second half, that we were kind of faltering a little bit, especially in our secondary. We knew, if you're watching this, you've watched all the Rams games, we knew going into this season that our secondary isn't going to be the best. And it's going to have to rely on our pass rushers to get the quarterback to make bad throws. They did that in the fourth quarter, really, and especially in the last drive of the fourth quarter.
First quarter, too.
In the first quarter. But outside of that, the wide receivers kind of got to play their game in the second and third quarter. So what do you give this grade? Would you grade this defense?
I would give it the grade, we need to draft taller DBs, is what I would give it. Overall, I would say it is a B. It is more of what we have seen, or we were seeing in the middle of the season, where we were giving up chunk plays, very much giving up yardage in between the 30s. But in critical situations, they find a way to get a stop. And to be honest, I'm not even going to blame the defense for the first two touchdown drives. In my opinion, both of those drives got extended by penalties that shouldn't have happened at all. So they got more 3 and outs than you will see on paper. Now, the problem is this defense feels like if you don't get that initial 3 and out, they bleed all the way until the red zone. And we were able to force a few turnovers on the way and kind of force a field goal once. But the chunk plays and the long passing plays against a team that struggled with long passing plays, it's just when this pass rush is an elite, that secondary gets exposed really badly.
Yeah.
Late we had a lot of being there helps, but
it definitely helped. The defense gave a lot of pressure. They put a lot of pressure on Young and Bryce Young, and he was able to sometimes scramble out of it. But for the most part, they really did a good job of kind of throwing him off his game. Obviously, he was still able to complete 21. He was able to send 21 attempts for 264 yards. So, he was able to move the ball, especially with Cocker and McMillan. Both of them had over 215 yards. just those two receivers together. So that's one thing that the Rams need to tighten up. We got to figure out this whole secondary situation. Obviously, Kel Witherspoon went out early on in the game, tried to come back in, eventually got pulled. So we'll see what his condition is going down the road. But he's definitely someone who we're going to miss. He is one of our longer DBs, like you were mentioning. Outside of Kobe Durant's interception, he seemed to struggle a lot. They were picking on him quite a bit. Landman, I think, played admirably. Obviously, he got that foul that shouldn't have been a foul, things like that. But,
they played the run great.
They did. They played the run great. They contained them really well, 83 total yards. Dowdle was basically non-existent. Hubbard, 46 yards on 13 attempts. So they did a really great job there. I'm just kind of going through the rest of these stats. They didn't, in my opinion, they didn't overshoot like we've seen them do previously. They may have missed, getting to Byron, but to Bryce Young, but they didn't ever seem to like shoot out of a cannon and just like blow past them. They're
doing a good job of keeping containment on him for most plays. Besides, he had one run for like 8 yards and a touchdown. Right, those are about the 2 times where they kind of weren't able to get him down. Every other time, like I think Byron Young, this was on the second to last drive when we got a 3-and-out. Bryce rolls to the right, and Byron Young does a great job of not overcommitting. And you could tell Bryce wanted to juke him out and try to run past him. And instead, Byron basically forced him to be like, you're either going to try to throw it over my head or you're just sitting there and getting sacked by someone else or taken down. And it was just a small thing of where I think this D-line has learned a little bit, Zach. Now, they still had a few missed opportunities where if we can clean those up and get more negative plays, this defense can be really, really pain in the butt thing. Now, the offense doesn't help out whenever they go flat, and this isn't a defense, Zach, where if we're playing from behind, I'm really worried, to be honest. It has to be a defense where we're playing from lead. And until they start getting more heavier pressure with our 4-man rush, it wasn't getting there until we started mixing in some of those exotic blitz packages and kind of doing the different motions on the back end with like the backers and DBs. And they also mix, kind of like move around who's blitzing in what gap. So it's kind of having to be a little bit more manufactured for the talent level of this D-line. Both me and you expect more of this D-line, and they still, we could say, is it because Brendan Fisk isn't 100%? I think Byron Young is 100%. He slowed down a little bit. Jared Verse has been, I think that one-dimensional pass rush has kind of caught up to him. And it'll be interesting to see like if he can continue to grow in the playoffs. And then Kobe Turner, I would say, has been the best D lineman besides our free agent acquisition, the defensive tackle from Chargers. I'm blanking on his name.
Poona Ford.
Yeah, Poona Ford. Poona Ford and I believe those two are probably the best D linemen so far in the last few games.
It still amazes me that Poona Ford got to Bryce Young. I even remember like the tight end kind of looking at him as he was running forward, and he just turned his head. Like I was like, "What is happening? You just let this guy go barrel forward to your quarterback?" It was great. So I think he played really well. Like I said, I think this defense, obviously it played really well most of the game, had some issues with some of the DBs for some of the drives. Again, I think we go with some of the penalty calls were questionable at best. But overall, like I said, I agree with you. I think the defense had probably like a B grade, from start to finish.
Yeah, they made some plays. They had some good effort. Things they need to clean up. I don't know how much you can do that before next game just based off of the personnel. So you have the personnel you got to work with. I will say Roger McCreary, Zach, he had a pretty good game when he was stepping in. He was looking a lot more healthy moving back there in the slot.
Felt like I kind of wish he was filled in a little bit more. I felt like he was underutilized, especially once Akella went down. So hopefully they kind of look at the tape. They kind of figure out how to get him more involved in the game.
Yeah, he had a huge 3rd down and 4th down stop when the Panthers went for it. But do you want to go ahead and talk about your favorite topic, the special teams?
Yeah, what so special teams was both. So I'm gonna it was crazy. It was a Jekyll and Hyde kind of moments. Let's talk about the positives, because I like to be optimistic up the front, because there were several things. Obviously, number one, the thicker kicker, Melvis, he was great. He was 2 for 2 in his field goals, made every one of his extra points. Beautifully done. Basically, outside of one, was really right down the middle. Great job there. Obviously, our favorite linebacker, Troy Reeder, made an unbelievable recovery on a special teams, muffed return by ENT for Carolina. Yep. That was not good on him. He had a couple of those. One was a bobble.
Yeah. And then he got benched after that.
Yeah, that was not good. Not good. But, there were things that were going really well for the Rams, and it felt like we just couldn't capitalize in the first half on everything that was going wrong for Carolina. Realistically, going into the second half, it should have been like 30-7.
See, real quickly, Zach, is that a good play by the special teams, or did we just get lucky landing Troy Reeder's hands?
Well, here's the thing: we got two lucky bounces. I will say, I think. Yes. For a team that never gets a lucky bounce, we got 2 of them. We got the Quentin Lake tapped his fingers and just magically fell into Kobe Durant's hand. Because if Q didn't touch it, it was going to be an incomplete pass. And then this one as well was a muffed punt, but he was there.
Which was a bad. I'll say it was a good recovery by Reeder. He gets credit for that. But the fact that it went to him was lucky, and the fact that he muffed it in the first place, that was a terrible attempt at. It wasn't even like he bobbled it a little bit or is wet or. I think what was probably causing that was the gunner. I think it was our right gunner, unabated, Zach, and when he rushed, and it might have been Reeder. I don't think it was. It might have been Xavier Smith, but if you guys know, post in the chat and let us know. But our gunner rushes up and he calls for just a regular catch. And whenever he does that, I think that pressure from the gunner unabated kind of spooked him a little bit or caught his eye is probably what most likely happened.
Yeah. So I'm giving Reeder credit. I'm giving the special teams credit.
They get partial credit. They get partial credit there.
I'm giving them full credit because we're going to talk about why they get negative credit here in just a second. I think one more positive. I think Ethan Evans. He also had a good game. He kicked off really well. He had some really good deep kicks in the landing zone. He punted well. 3 punts. Even though we don't want to see punts, or 4 punts. He had 4 punts. No, we don't want to see punts, but he was averaging 45 yards per attempt with the longest of 52. So those were good things. We also didn't – one more last thing, I guess, good thing about the special teams. we had
This
pretty
is a
good.
record in 2025.
I know. I'm trying to find all the little nick and crinny things that I can figure out. They did really well when Carolina was able to catch the ball from a punt. They did a really good job tackling too. They didn't allow them to get too many yards from that.
Yeah, and good kick coverage the last 2 weeks.
Yes. Some bad things I would say. The blocked punt was not good. That protection, not great.
I will say, Zach, and I said this to my mother-in-law. We were watching the game together. I actually said that was beneficial to the Rams. Now, it was beneficial in the sense of timing wise, and you almost guaranteed yourself another possession where, and I think we saw this against the Panthers last time. All they had to do was go down the field and kind of milk clock. And they did that against us when I was there in week 13, week 14, whatever week it was. But having that punt blocked basically meant like it would have been really hard for them to milk the clock with 2-minute warning and our 3 timeouts only going 30 yards. Now, it guaranteed them basically a tied game, which sucks. You don't want to see that. And there's a potential we can just get a 3-and-out earlier. But, it is what it is. And that at least gave us the opportunity, if they did score, to have another drive, which proved crucial time-wise.
No, I think that is an excellent point. Excellent point. 100% agree with that. The only other one, I think Xavier Smith, he gets minus points for not being decisive enough to catch the ball and try to make a few extra yards on that punt return. Instead, he just let it go, and I think he had the opportunity to catch it and at least not lose, go back the 5 yards that I think he could have had.
I would rather
he was mad at himself
over. I personally think I rather have him not try to catch it if he's not 100% certain he's not gonna. You know what I mean? Like, if you think there's a chance that you're gonna muff it, don't catch it at all. I would much rather have the bad field position than a turnover.
Right. So maybe maybe the special teams actually had a really great game because, you even like the muff punt. So, but we do need to clean that up because.
Oh, I don't like a muff punt. I was looking at the positive of the muff punt. There's not many positives.
You are right. I mean, they could have just milked it out and, scored a last second touchdown, and that could have been the end of the game. Over. So,
yeah. And that's what they did. That's what they literally did to us the last game.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, it kind of hurt the Panthers. Now, I don't think that was a 50D chess move by Sean McVay, Zach. At that point, you might as well go for it. So it wasn't by design. And again, you got to have average special teams or there's a chance it's going to lose us a big game. It already has multiple times. So. And that is sad to say.
After talking about this game, I'm really optimistic that this team is still super great. Got to clean up the penalties.
Super great team. They have to be in a back corner, like with no option left but to perform excellent, or they don't do it. And they can't just put teams away, good teams away. We have put bad teams away. That has happened. And I know some people are going to be yelling like, we're blowing out a few teams. Yes. Except the Jaguars. And that's when they were going through their low, by the way. I believe they were only like a game or two above 500 or even like even. Besides Jaguars, we haven't blown out any good team. We haven't put away any good team. We have been in one-score games, and a lot of them we have lost. So I'm happy in a sense we've gone through some of that because I'm going to be honest, Zach, some teams would have folded in a situation like this. Even as the number one scoring offense, even going everything that happens Some of the calls not going your way, some calls, some plays just bad execution. Some teams would have collapsed.
No, for sure. But the Rams keep on, they don't give up, which I love that. I think
Yeah.
Stafford does play much differently when he is down than when he is up.
Oh man,
And
you see that look in his eyes. You can just
he's
see.
you do, and you see them. They again. I think this team is a lot better when they play high tempo. When they are having to consistently like kind of move the ball a little bit more quickly. We've seen that they tend to be better. They're able to get on they keep the defenses from readjusting themselves. And
Do
so
you think
sometimes
some of that though is the defense against us going to prevent? Because I think that was an issue for Carolina.
I mean, I think so, but I think sometimes we just kind of, I don't know, we just stay like, I don't know, we just get stagnant, and I don't see the sense of urgency. And when you're in the playoffs, I think every possession is urgency. I know you're trying to manage the clock a little bit, and that's great. But once you're in the second half, you could do that first half. Once you're in the second half, you need to play with some urgency to get some momentum and get some build up. And I just, I think it wasn't there for the first part of the second half. But anyways, great win though. It's a great win.
Fantastic win. I know we have sounded kind of negative on this podcast, especially for a playoff win, but I feel like
we've been very positive. I thought I was going to be ripping the special teams at Newham, but after our discussion, I'm
you're feeling better about it. Okay, I'm happy to turn you around a little bit from wanting to rage against it for 4 or 5 months during the off season. We probably will still do that a little bit.
We're definitely going to be talking about the special teams this offseason. For those who are in the chat or watching us live or watching us after the fact, hey, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/@EastCoastRams. It's where you can, always get the videos live. You'll get a notification when we go live, so you'll never miss another episode ever again. So please do that. It would mean the world to us. We're a free podcast. We just like to chat with you guys. So what you guys can do, it costs you nothing, is to hit that like, subscribe, and that notification button. As we wrap this episode up, because we're kind of getting long. We talked about the offense, we talked about the defense, we even talked about the special teams. What can we expect moving forward? Obviously, we don't know at this time on Saturday night post game. We don't know who we're facing yet. It seems to be more likely than not it's going to be either the 49ers or the Eagles. I'm terrified either way. The last time we faced 49ers in SoFi, we lost in overtime. The last time we faced the Eagles in Philadelphia, we lost in this round as well, in the divisional round. What is there a team you would rather face off, I guess?
I think every game, you can't look at it like this, because I remember having this feeling going into the playoffs like in 23, and we ended up getting the only team. Like, I think the Lions that year were going in a little cold, and everyone else was going in what we thought was hot, but every other team got blown out at home wildcard weekend, and we ended up being the only team in a fight, even being traveling to Detroit. So I think it just depends how the teams show up and how they perform. Each one of these teams, I would say, is imperfect. It was always going to be between the Seattle 49ers and Eagles if we won. We won't be able to play the Packers unless if we hosted them in the championship. But I think that's a long-winded way of saying the most imperfect of all these teams, I would actually say, is the Eagles. Out of those three, between the Seahawks, Niners, and Eagles, I think the 49ers at times can look really, really dysfunctional on both sides. I'm just more afraid of the 49ers because the historical element and like how I would say how close Shanahan and McVay have been in their kind of rivalry. So that does kind of give me bad jujus. So, yeah, I mean, I think all of them have their like disadvantages, and I think playing Philly in that kind of weather again would be terrible. But I think Philly's the weakest out of those three teams. And then Philly and the 49ers are very close. Seattle, I'm not going to lie, I wanted a little piece of Seattle. I want a little bit piece of Seattle, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a long shot. It would be what the Bears would have to win, and the Eagles would have to win.
Zach, the Bears just got a field goal.
Oh man!
So it's 21-6. 21-6.
Yeah. I think that I would rather face the Eagles in Philadelphia as well.
So you agree with me there?
I actually do agree with you. You know, we don't agree very often, I think, on this podcast, but you know, I think I'm 2 for 2 on agree. The time. I think I've agreed with you like 3 times this podcast. What in the world is happening to me? No, but I think I would agree. I think the 49ers, even though we would have home field advantage, you know, there's a lot of 49ers fans who will be spending the money to show up. So it's going to be more of a 50-50 ball.
It's gotten better in recent years.
It has, but it's still going to be closer to that 50-50, I think, for that game. And then they're getting healthier. Obviously, if they win and continue going on, they may get Fred Warner back. They're going to get some of the, like I said, some of their defensive pieces back. So it's going to be a struggle. Plus, again, it's a divisional rivalry. Either way, it's going to be a hard fought battle.
Fred Warner. Nervous. Fred Warner is going to be a big thing if he can come back for that game or not. Because if not, I feel like the 49ers would have a worse. It would be the inverse of the Eagles. The Eagles, you have to really deal with the defense and try to score points. And because their offense, outside of really only the Rams game, which who knows, they could do that again. But besides our game and maybe like the Cowboys or something, their offense has been kind of very ineffective the entire season. So it's like you got to deal with either a good defense, elite defense, and a mediocre offense, or vice versa with the 49ers because of injuries and stuff. And it's kind of pick your poison there. I mean,
well, the other side is that the weather conditions. Obviously, in LA, you're going to face different weather conditions than Philadelphia in the month of January. Right now, I think it's been raining all day there. I think tomorrow it's supposed to be like 44 with the wind chills in like the 30s because there's going to be 35-mile winds. Just things that you're going to have to deal with too. So again, like, yes, I may want to face that team, but do I want to face them in Philadelphia? I don't know. Obviously, it's out of our hands. It's obviously going to be between whatever these teams do. We'll accept it with what it is. Because you want to know why? You want to know why? All right, hold on a second. I got to take this jersey off. Because we fear none.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was kind of hoping for a little bite at Seattle. And, you know, I guess the positive is if the Packers win, like, do you think the Packers have a chance at the Hawks? I know we have a few Packer fans watching. Y'all didn't look so hot going into this game. Now it's the Bears, so I've been saying they were frauds the entire year, and people didn't believe me. But
yeah, it's all going to come down to how they show up each and every week. Obviously, you know, the Rams coming into this was number one offense in the NFL. Did they look like that at most of the time? No. You know, you don't really want to see your quarterback have 24 for 42 in attempts and completions. But, you know, you want him in the fourth quarter when he's 12 for 15 with that TD. So, again, it's like pick your poison. It's just going to come down to situational, how they can handle themselves. I think the Rams, again, they fear nobody. Every team is beatable, but every team can beat the Rams. It's one of those things that you're just going to have to deal with. And we put all of our chips in our defense. We put all of our chips in the front. That's what we thought we needed, and that's just what we are going to have to live with. And I think that with getting Lake back, I think this was his first game back because he's going to be better in week 2. Devontae missing some time. I think him and Stafford will have a better connection next week. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited for this team. I'm excited for them to keep playing. Even though they give me panic attacks, and I'm probably gonna have to be on some medicine for the next 3 weeks to control my heart palpitations. I still love this team. I still have faith in this team. Yeah,
I'll take 3 weeks if it's heart palpitation for 3 weeks, because that means they're playing meaningful ball. But quick question for you, Zach.
Sure.
Quick question: does this constitute a successful season? Just winning this game?
No, I don't think so. Because our time is limited with some of these players, and I think right now we are playing at our best. We have the best players on the team that we need. Again, outside probably than our secondary. I think this is our biggest chance. You have Devontae Adams, who, he is a Pro Bowl wide receiver. You have Puka Nacua, who is a Pro Bowl wide receiver. You have Matthew Stafford playing at an MVP level. And so I don't know. I think the at best is to get to the Super Bowl. I think we need to say that that's been a successful year. Anything less than that, it was a really good year.
Yeah, I think for this team, the expectations and this roster, with having what me and you would say is like a top 5 NFL defensive front and a number 1 offense, that combination alone should be good enough to get you to the championship. Right? NFC championship. It should. And I think everything else has just been slight execution issues, sloppiness, mistakes, and shooting yourself in the foot. And this team has to not defeat itself. And we have seen great things when they don't.
Everyone needs to have.
Can they do that?
They need to have more of a Matthew Stafford. You make a mistake, you move on. Don't let it eat you up. I think, you kind of go with this one. Rams aren't. This comment was Rams aren't peaking. Their offense has slowed over the last few games. They still have more. They still have more tools. And what is up with Puka drops? Let's start with the Puka drops. I don't know if there have been a few Puka drops. I think some of it is
it's
missed placement of balls. The Puka drops, he's going to make some drops. I mean, this guy's human. Even though he makes the most insane catches in the world, he's going to have drops occasionally. I don't think we've seen as many drops as we think. It's just weird that he drops the ball or things like that.
And just addressing the offense question, Zach, can you just, off the top of your head, including the playoff game, the last 7 games, how many of those do you think we got under 30 points?
The last 7 games?
Last 7 games.
I don't know. I think it was only 1.
2. Only 2. The Falcons and the Panthers. The offense has been not the biggest issue, guys. It hasn't been perfect, and they have faltered in big moments. I think that is a fair criticism.
They do, and they have typically bad quarters. They usually can play well for 3/4 of the game. It's really one quarter, maybe a quarter and a half, where they kind of get a slump. And we saw that this week towards the second half of the first quarter or second quarter, and then the third quarter.
Yeah.
That was their slump, and then they came back firing on all cylinders. And again, I think when they really try in the third quarter or in coming out of the second half, I think they were really trying to be explosive. They wanted to get the explosive plays out there, and it was just a missed opportunity. They did 3 pass plays going out of the half. They all failed. I think one of them should have been a holding call on Devontae, but otherwise it was bad attempts on either Stafford or the receiver. So again, I think they have bad drives, and it feels longer because typically when the other team gets the ball, they eat up a lot of clock. So they didn't have as many opportunities as it always feels like, especially in that situation.
That the off coverage, and I understand it. We have to mix up our coverages. We have to do a lot of stuff to kind of cover up our back end because of their limited capabilities, because of the personnel. It is just, Zach, it drives me nuts. On the 3rd and 10, we have people who are 15 yards out. So they're 5 yards behind the sticks. And their wide receiver, I believe it was wide receiver, is standing just on the first yard line, and we have 2 players staring at him because they are in zone. It kills me sometimes. It drives me nuts. And I get it. They're trying to limit explosive plays and basically force them to dink and duck down the field. But I feel like we could get a little bit more aggressive on 3rd down because they were kind of converting them early on pretty well.
Yeah, 100%. But anyway, so you want to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, it is not every year you get a playoff game. I think we kind of forget that a lot of teams would just die to make the playoffs. So let alone a playoff win, we are watching probably the best Rams QB in franchise history. I don't think that's a stretch. We are watching one of the best Rams wide receivers in history, and you mix those 2 things up, you have number 1 offense. Like, you got to be grateful for what you have, and I think this team is special, and I just hope they can deliver on the promise of what this team is, because I feel like they have earned it and deserved it. They just have kind of let certain games get away from them, and if they can put together a game, what I think both me and you feel like they can do, this team should win a Super Bowl. I have no doubt about that, and you know me, I'm not the most optimistic in the world.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after tomorrow. We're finishing up this game. I think this game is just finished the 3rd quarter, 21-6 Bears. So we'll have to see what things happen after the 49ers and Eagles game to see who we actually will face. But we'll take on whoever can come up. The Rams are not afraid to go up to anybody. If they have to go to Philadelphia, fine. If they play the 49ers at home, great. They'll be ready, and it's going to be a good, hard fight. So super excited that the Rams get that opportunity. We get to watch them for at least 1 more week. Hopefully, 2, hopefully 3 more weeks would be even better. So thanks everyone who 4 weeks. I mean, there's only 3 more games, but
they take a week or 2 off for the big game.
Yeah. Well, but anyways, so super excited that we're going to continue to watch them. But thanks everybody who joined us live. Appreciate everyone who commented in the chat. Always great to have a community that we can kind of build with. Even if you're Bears fans or even if you're Packers fans, we will still bring you in open arms. We will just not like you when we face you in that given week. But no, really appreciate everybody. If you can, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EastCoastRams. Make sure you hit that notification button, making sure that you can always get notified for when we put out other videos, shorts, things like that. Trying to do that a little bit more each and every week to kind of build our content up. You can find us on X. That's kind of the biggest place that we communicate with the community. That's at East Coast Rams on X. We're also on Instagram and Threads at East Coast Rams Pod. Just search for us and you'll be able to find us, East Coast Rams. Ashton, anything else you want to say? You can find him at rampvanashton1. So follow him on X.
Hey guys, we're on to divisional. It's gonna be a fun ride. Looking forward to another heart palpitating game.
Yep, can't wait. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. We will see you guys next time. Whose house? It's the Los Angeles Rams house. See you guys. Peace.